We did ask for a two-step registration from attendees. However, since there's only 8 and several did not contact me about which items they want to speak on, so we're just going to call on all 8 for each of the items, and that way we have it covered if they wanted to speak on either of the 2 development items, or if they wanted to speak at the community reports part of the agenda at the end. Does anyone need me to show the agenda for the meeting?
No.
Okay, great.
Almost there.
So we can just call the meeting to order, Phil, and then do the minutes and the report.
It's 3:29, so let's wait one more minute. Okay, it is 3:30, so we're going to call the meeting to order of the Bayfront Advisory Commission for April 15th, 2021. Let's see, Mark, would you please just do a roll call of the panelists to make sure we have a quorum and everybody knows who's here?
I'm Mark Shea. It has me listed as Robin Hart because I use her account, but I'm not Robin. We have Janiza, who's the technical expert here, helping with the meeting. Bill Hurst, I believe, is here. Bob Magoon, did you get in, Bob? I see Bob. And then Charles Guthrie.
I'm here.
Charlie Malvin.
Present.
Okay, we got Wada from Planning Administration. John Peterson is here. Kay, are you here? I see your name. Yeah, I see you. And Morgan, yeah, we got well over a quorum. And then Phil and Eddie Bourdon for the Beach Builders item.
Okay, so we have at least 6 panelists.
You didn't call me, but I'm here.
Okay, so that makes 7.
Okay. All
Great.
right. Well, let's go ahead and start. First item is approval of the minutes. I was not here at the last meeting, so I'm going to defer to you guys to see if there's any comments about the minutes. Hopefully everybody receives them.
And for those of you who missed the meeting, there is a WebEx video on our webpage.
Okay.
And it has that entire presentation by Dan Adams, which is pretty interesting.
All right. So hearing no comments, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, so I think I heard a motion and a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, very good. All right. Chairman's report. I really don't have much to say because I've been out of town for most of the last month. So I'm just going to go right on up to asking Mark to do staff reports.
Okay. There's not as many as usual. The 7-Eleven at Pleasure House is going to go to City Council on the 20th of this month. It was recommended for approval by Planning Commission. The overture sign that was at our last meeting was recommended for approval by Planning Commission. That goes to City Council May 18th. We're in the midst of a budget presentations, and they're all on the webpage. And we'll finish up all those presentations in April. So there's a lot of CIP items for the Bayfront. We have that quarter study that wasn't in the manager's submission. The key date in all this is the May 4th reconciliation workshop, and that's where City Council can make some adjustments to the city manager's budget. And then May 11th is when the scheduled vote is. I think the public hearings start at the end of April, so you can have a chance to express your opinions through public hearings as well. I saw a recent outline of activities for short-term rental, and I don't see Bobby on here, but Kate can correct me if I'm wrong, but the latest I saw was that there on May 18th, there's going to be a staff presentation on the Planning Commission's proposed ordinance. May 25th is when there'll be a city council workshop to discuss it. June 1st is a city council public hearing, and the vote would be scheduled for June 15th if all goes as planned. And then that's pretty much it. I didn't see anything major on the Chesapeake Bay items or the Board of Zoning Appeal items. So that's my staff report. Did let you know that the survey line has been completed with the Love Art project, and it's at the deputy city manager level as far as getting the final approvals for this, the best way to do that. So I will let you know as soon as possible when we get those final approvals for the Love Art.
All right, very good. Mark, one question. The
Sure.
budget public hearings, will they be virtual or will they be live?
I think it's a hybrid. They will be held in the convention center, and I think there's a certain number of people that can sit there, but you can also participate virtually, is my understanding.
Okay.
I was just in a meeting and Guy Towers said that it will be that hybrid, like it, I guess how we came into it. So you can either sign up and call in or be there in person.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm assuming that somebody will publish some rules on who gets in and who has to be virtual.
Yes, it's the city clerk's page. We'll have all that instruction for you
Okay,
for the
And
city manager.
they will have the other room open for people, for overflow from room 5 at the convention center. Room 4 will be held for overflow.
gotcha. Okay, very good. Okay, any other comments, questions for Mark? All right, committee reports. Bob Magoon, anything on design? Bob, are you there?
I'm unmuted now.
Okay,
Okay. We're going to be talking about the two proposals before us, and that would, in essence, be the committee report for today.
okay, very good. All right, for public safety, transportation and such, Charlie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark had let me know that the trolleys will be starting on May 23rd, and their hours of service will be from 8 a.m. to midnight. And they will be trolleys and not the hybrid buses, Mark, is that true?
It might be a mixture, but they have been running, at least 2 years ago, they were running trolleys along the route as well. And
Okay,
I
so-
feel like there might be more than usual because I don't think they're going to be quite as busy as they were 2 years ago. COVID will still be affecting ridership, in my opinion. So with fewer vehicles on the route, then there'll be more, the trolleys will be utilized more than the other buses.
Well, if we get more trolleys, I think we get more ridership.
That's for sure.
And the brochures, I guess, will be printing them and they'll be available soon. Is that correct, Mark?
Yes, it sure is.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let's go ahead and start the presentations. The first is Beach Building Group.
Can I ask a question before we start? I'm getting inundated with messages for people not being able to log on to this WebEx. I have sent the BAC website that Mark you sent, but they're saying that a password is required.
Right.
And- Go ahead.
It was set up as a WebEx event and we had a 12 noon deadline. to register. We have been fielding some emails late and we've been trying to get them on, but that was the reason we did it, so it wouldn't happen during the meeting. But
I
it
think
was,
what doesn't make sense is that the request to register by 12 noon gives the indication that only if you were speaking. So there are
Oh.
several people that wanted to join to listen, and not, I mean, by several, that's why the membership or the viewership is down, because a lot of people didn't expect to speak. They just expected to listen.
okay.
So if they're registering as an attendee to just listen in to the meeting, they still have to register, and they should have received an email confirmation of that registration, and within that email has the password event.
Okay, so can they still do that now?
Yes, they can. I have received a couple of emails as well. I'm sending them the email password.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, let's load up John Peterson, or excuse me,
Nope.
Eddie Bordone on Pleasure House Road.
Thank you, Chairman Davenport, and good to be before this august body. Honestly, I was tied up so long yesterday at Planning Commission. Had to get my facts straight on this one today. This is an assemblage of 3 pieces of property on Pleasure House Road that are surrounded by the Windsong Apartments. And Jonathan Spate, good young builder, has assembled these properties. They're zoned R7.5, but like I said, their Windsong surrounds them. This is a proposal to build an 8-unit for sale condominium project. They're basically 4 2-unit buildings on one piece of, which will be one piece of property with the assemblage, one entrance off of Pleasure House Road. The density is is under 14 units per acre. The lot coverage is actually right at 40%, which is would be the maximum under an A12 as far as lot coverage. But because it's, and frankly, we wouldn't want to cut it that close anyway. So the A18 is really like 13.9 units per acre, and the lot coverage is really an A12 lot coverage. So there's good open space areas, yards, and we just got the elevations that were with the colors and the building materials yesterday. I just saw them this morning, and they've been, I think you all have copies of all of that. And it's private, obviously a private trash service. There'll be rollouts. There's no dumpster, and all the materials we have, or there is or will be fencing on the Windsong property based on their plans that I've seen to the east side of this property, which is actually the rear property line of this property, and the south side we'll be putting a fence up on the north side. And that's pretty much it. The only thing that's encroaching into a setback are the front porches. The units on Pleasure House Road is the front of the building that faces there. If you're looking at the elevations, so there is a good frontage appearance. You're not looking at the side of the building. You're looking at the front of the 2 buildings, one on either side of the access. There we go. So you've got a front appearance of 2 units on the front that really looks like, from the front, looks like one house. Got decks in the back. All the HVAC is within the fenced-in yard areas of each unit, so there's no visibility as far as that's concerned. And each unit has a 2-car garage. Each unit has 2 additional parking spaces in front of the garage. And any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
All right, Bob Magoon, as the design committee guy, would you talk about your review?
If you, Mark, could you put my comments up on the screen?
I did not receive them.
I think Phil sent them to you.
Oh, Phil's there. Gotcha.
While he's trying to get those, can you
Yeah.
just talk about them?
I'll go ahead and start into it. Typically, I would be handing these comments out to the commission members before the meeting starts, and hopefully we can get back to a meeting in person and we can continue to do that in the future. So on this application, we had a general comment about the building design lacking an articulated facade and visual interest. And what we did is, as we've done in the past, is provided suggestions for achieving such a facade and interest, and then in the hope of getting a resubmittal and then a possible future approval. So I'm going to look at it here. You can see these images on the screen now. On the inward facing elevation and the one in the upper right hand corner of the drawing, we suggested providing a coherent composition of building components to include the shed dormers, garage doors, and second and third floor windows, depicting the garage doors accurately. Consider breaking up the simulated shed dormer between the dwelling units to reduce the scale, allowing the primary roof plan to continue between the two shed dormers, or two, not one as shown, to the primary roof eave edge. Offset the shed dormers from the front and rear primary roof edge and building plane. Basically, if you look at the inward facing elevation and the front elevation, you can pretty much see that there's really no offset between the dormer and the front and rear facades of the building. So, which is one of the issues. Without the suggested changes in the dormers or the simulated shed dormer, the buildings are really, in essence, 3-story boxes. It's got the rake trim that's trying to break up the massing. It's got eave trim. It's got the rake trim on the front and rear elevations, and it's got the eave trim on the inward facing and the outward facing elevations. The outward facing elevation, what we're suggesting is add gable roofs over the decks instead of the shed roof. In essence, it would break up the massing of that simulated shed dormer. On the front elevation, front and rear, suggest deleting the windows in the side wall of the shed dormers that you can see in the small square ones. Again, reduce the width and scale of the simulated shed dormers to provide some dimensional separation on the front and rear elevations. Again, in essence, these are 3-story boxes that are being broken up. The attempt is to break them up with these architectural elements. A suggestion for an elliptical or square window above the entry porch roof. And then obviously on the front elevation and the rear elevation, it would be adding the gable roofs that would be on the outward facing elevation decks. On the site plan, if the setbacks allow, and Eddie, you could answer this, to reduce the box appearance, and this is another attempt in addition to some of the architectural elements that we've talked about, suggest offsetting the individual dwelling units in each of the duplex buildings. So it would be offsetting in the middle of what you see in the inward facing elevation and the outward facing elevation. And then question we had is, what is the width and the material and the intent of the dividing strip between driveways? It didn't seem to be significant enough to provide landscaping. So we didn't know if there was going to be a definition delineation with pavers and between the concrete and the pavers. So I don't know, Eddie, if there is an opportunity to offset those buildings, split the buildings. And then we had a question about, does the proposal meet all the parking requirements? And then the final comment on the site was provide landscaping around the entire property, all four edges. It appeared it was only on two of the edges. So, and then there was a general comment about addressing BB's staff appropriateness of design comments, and I think some of that information has been answered with the most recent information that the applicant has submitted. And the suggested motion for the BAC's consideration is for the applicant to address the above comments and resubmit for possible future approval.
Before we vote on a motion, Eddie, could you provide your reaction?
Oh, absolutely. And I really think they're constructive suggestions. I appreciate Bob's comments. Let me, and please, if I don't get all of them, and there's some things you want me to comment on that I forget, don't hesitate to ask. Let's start with the last one. The landscaping, based on the plans for Windsong's redevelopment, which is adjacent to our south and our east sides, there's substantial landscaping that they're providing on their side of the fence there, and in that circumstance. So that's the reason why we didn't put a lot of heavy landscaping in there, because there's already going to be a lot of landscaping. We felt that just having yard area would be helpful for those back units. But that's the reason. I mean, we certainly can plant a few additional trees on those two sides, but there really doesn't appear to be a strong need for that, given the heavy landscaping that's going in on those other two sides, right on that boundary line on their side of the fence. The idea of having the two units offset, I think that's a very good idea. I believe it can be accommodated. Also believe, and I did see the request for what was going to be the landscape materials in those little islands. And I do, whether we can expand them a little bit and actually have some landscape material, or I do think the idea of having a paver trim, or I'm not losing the word, but that you have the concrete area and then have pavers to so it's not just one sea of the same material, I think is another very good suggestion that I think can absolutely be accommodated. I get all the other, I think everything that was brought up has merit and can be probably accommodated. I'm not in a position, never heard the one about wanting to change the roof line over the decks, but that it probably is a good cohesive suggestion. And I certainly understand what you're getting at, which is what Jonathan, I'm sure, was trying to get at as far as breaking up the building, having the dormers set back a little bit further, and the window suggestions, I agree with those. The one over the front entrance I think is a good suggestion as well. So I would need to see, I obviously haven't seen the suggestions, just listening to them for the first time, but I do think that they're constructive. And I think for the most part, we can probably adapt these plans to those and try to incorporate as many of them, if not all of them, to a change in the plan. But as far as the parking, as I said, we definitely meet the parking requirements. There is obviously the potential for, with it being a condo, there's potential for people to share their parking. We don't want people to park, obviously can't park on Pleasure House Road. But and if there were a way to create some additional parking, we wouldn't be averse to it, but I'm not sure that that's really, I think it would be more of a, it would detract from the layout, detract from the units. But we do meet the parking requirements, to answer that question directly.
I have a
if I'm-
question.
Yep.
Hello, you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so, no, thank you. So I got a few questions. First of all, it's 14 units per acre, so that's a lot. Site work. Eddie, are you guys adding any dirt to this place here? Or are you basically going to sit on the same site? Are you adding any dirt to the site?
Wally, there's no way for us to be certain of that at this point. That's all a question of the stormwater review, and I'm not in a position to be able to give you an answer one way or the other. I don't have any knowledge of this site having any flooding problems or flooding issues, and we obviously have to some degree, work in conjunction with what's going to be happening with the redevelopment around it.
All right, you just walked me right into my next question then. So I went to a meeting about Windsong a year ago. There were 80 or 100 people that showed up at this thing at the rec center, and they showed us a drawing of the site plan, of course, and it showed the stormwater at Windsong flowing towards Lake Joyce and the Lynn Haven. Why in the world we're not talking about that, but are you guys doing the same thing they're doing? Or are you going to have your stormwater flowing in that direction instead of Little Creek, or which way is it going?
Wally, that determination is made by what infrastructure is there and the way that the existing public drainage system takes the water. All we're doing, we collect the water. We have to hold it on site. We have to meet all the requirements as far as that's concerned. And there may be, depending upon the tailwater elevations and all the subcatchment details that go into the models that the city is using now, that's oftentimes, well, most every time, frankly, that's what's creating the need in many cases to add elevation, both from a sea level rise subsidence issue with flooding, and also to create the ability to have underground or under parking, mostly structural BMPs, so you hold the water, treat the water for a good length of time before it is outfalled into the city system. I can't sit here and tell you I know which way the water's draining once it's in Pleasure House Road. That's not within our control.
It kind of blew us away, everybody that was looking at the drawing. Why would it do that? But there's people who know a whole lot more about that stuff than me. My last question is, you've said the word condo a couple of times. Are these condos or are these apartments that are being built?
There will be an 8-unit condominium. The units will be for sale. These are not apartments.
Okay. The reason I'm asking, it said at the top there, conditional change of zoning R7.5 residential district to conditional A18 apartment district. That's the only reason.
That's a good. I mean, I understand, but that all of our multifamily, unless you're in B4 or one of the OR, one of the form-based codes, all of our multifamily, whether they're apartments or whether they're for sale or in an apartment district, because that's the 1973 zoning ordinance lists everything as apartment district. That's multifamily. So these are definitely not apartments. They'll be very well received as far as value in this area, but they are for sale, one condominium.
Thank you.
Would you be amenable to sitting with Bob Magoon and just talking about some of those comments and trying to come to some good compromise type agreement?
What I would suggest, the answer is certainly yes, but I have to consult with Jonathan Spate, and obviously his father's a structural engineer. Jonathan's got a real good background. It may be that Jonathan sits with Bob, so he won't be paying my hourly rate to sit with Bob. But
That's
I
fine.
certainly, I know your intent, and I would strongly recommend to my client that that's what we do.
Yeah. And then maybe come back next month and just show us what changes, if any, are done.
I will strongly recommend it to Jonathan Spate, and I'm quite comfortable that he will go along with it. I'm not aware of any contractual problems that we'll run up against, but I think it'll be able to be accommodated. I certainly hope so.
Okay.
I was going to suggest one option in case there are problems that it sounds like Bob Magoon's list is pretty specific, and if y'all work together, staff could work on them, as well.
Well,
All right. Well, let's try working through Bob first and see how that goes.
And let me, Phil, if I can, I think we would share these comments with you, Eddie, so that that you have the exact language and information in hand. And I do have some ideas on how to offset the buildings. But I think the project has an opportunity to be a fairly charming arrangement with the right treatments.
Yeah, I look forward to getting the written version of what you spelled out, because some of it, but I know what you're trying to achieve. I appreciate what you're trying to achieve, and I'm pretty confident that my client will be on board with most of what you're talking about. And I do think it is, everything I heard, I think has the ability to be worked into, maybe not exactly, but something very similar.
Right.
And then
Right.
it's not an exact science. It's a lot of it's art. So, but I agree with you.
Thank you.
All right. So my next question then is to the commission. Do we need to vote on a motion right now, or can we just defer action until next month?
Let's defer it.
I can go with Wally. I think we should defer it until they come back to us with their modifications.
Okay. All right. All right. Well,
I agree also.
okay. If everybody can work together, Bob and Eddie and all of Eddie's folks, then
Bill, can I ask something real quick? I am actually, unfortunately, leaving for a week in about 2 hours, 3 hours. If Mark or somebody could get Bob's written comments to us so I can go over them with Jonathan before I leave, that would be a big help to keep us moving forward smartly so we can come back next month.
absolutely. Mark, you have those comments, so can you just send them
I
to
haven't
Eddie?
been able to open them, unfortunately. I was going to try to share them. If there's a way to send them, maybe if Bob sent them directly to me in a PDF format or a Word. For some reason, the attachment, I couldn't open it to share.
Okay. I will
I'm sorry for
forward.
not trying earlier.
I will forward to you, Mark, the information I sent to Phil.
Okay, and then I'll forward it to Eddie.
Great.
Anita's email.
Yes, Mark, yes. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it today.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you, Eddie.
Enjoy your trip.
Have a good trip.
Thank you very much,
Oh, wait,
guys.
we didn't ask for any community input.
Well, I was
Sorry.
getting ready to do that
Okay.
and ask
Oh, okay.
if there is anybody in the audience who would like to make any comments.
Janiza, did you, nobody contacted me to say they wanted to speak on this item. The people listening, I think you can raise your virtual hand if you have any comments.
I don't see anyone raising their virtual hands right now. But I
Okay.
can, do you want me to go?
Hearing no comments, then we'll defer this item and move to the next item, Marlon Bay Apartments.
Good afternoon.
So John Peterson,
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me? Okay. This, as you all know, is the second time we've appeared before this group. Our preferred format, of course, was the last time when we were able to see you all in person, but we understand the circumstances. So thank you for the opportunity to come back to this group and present some modifications that we've made to this proposed apartment project. We have, since our meeting, our last appearance before this commission in November, we have had a meeting with Bob, as a representative, obviously, of the design committee for this commission. And then we've had subsequent meetings with the Ocean Park Civic League leadership and the Councilman Jones for this particular zone. We have tried to incorporate as many of the ideas and comments that we've heard and trying to modify our proposed design. And so we have come back with some what will appear to be some relatively simple changes, but they are pretty impactful to the project on the whole. So the biggest change that we've made from the previously proposed design is to remove 30 total units from the community. So we had originally proposed 227 units, and now we're at 197 units. That allowed us to actually take one of the floors of the building on the wing of the building that faces Shore Drive and Marlon Bay. So we had submitted some drawings that demonstrated this, but essentially we were able to take a floor off that building with the idea being to soften the massing that was visible from Shore Drive and from Marlon Bay Drive. We have largely kept the rest of the structure as previously proposed. One other point to mention is that just to clarify, the zoning lot that we are proposing includes the parcel that has the Lynn Haven Marine building on it. So by including that parcel in our zoning lot, and proffering that the maximum number of units on the zoning lot is 197, that means that no additional residential development can happen on that Lynn Haven Marine parcel. So I know that question had come up before, so I just wanted to point that out. Otherwise, the architectural elements that we had previously proposed are still very similar. We have a little bit more of an offset in the building frontage along Shore Drive, so that it creates a little bit more visual interest. But otherwise, the main change is the reduction of the unit count and the removal of the fourth floor on that wing of the building that you see in the drawing in front of you now. We've supplied some renderings to try to give you all a sense of what this looks like when you're driving down Shore Drive. And hopefully that will kind of take this two-dimensional drawing and make it a little bit more understandable. So we appreciate the commentary, especially from Bob's committee. And hopefully we have at least taken steps that are well received to try to accommodate those comments. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for today, but happy to answer any questions.
okay. I appreciate the fact that you've made a lot of changes and significant changes. Bob, can you provide the next review?
Yes. And one of my, and I apologize for reading this, but the fact that we don't have copies of this information in hand in front of the commission members it's a little bit of a hurdle. So I wanted to lead this conversation off. John and I have talked. John and I have met, and my lead-off comment was I broke everything down as pros and cons, and then I have a suggested motion. But the immediate pro is that John and Peterson met. They're to be applauded for reducing the height of the building wing extending towards the intersection of Shore Drive and Marlon Bay from 4 to 3 stories. As John alluded, doing so reduces the scale and the massing along Shore Drive and Marlon Bay Drive. And as important as reducing the scale, I think it's an acknowledgement of the intersection of Shore Drive and Marlon Bay being the transition point on Shore Drive where we go from a green zone to a mixed zone, as shown in the design, Shore Drive design, corridor design guidelines. So that it's really to be applauded because that transition is so important, as is the scale and massing along Shore Drive and Marlon Bay. The other things we've commented on in the past are the porches that continue down to to an elevated porch elevated above grade with railings and the first level having steps to those porches implying entrances. And there was a question about whether the same would occur or could occur on the other elevations, which would continue that theme. It didn't appear so in the site plan, but I didn't want to conclude that to be the case. So that would be a consideration. I think it's so successful along the Shore Drive elevation that it would be, it would help the other elevations too. Basically, this stepping back of the building facade as you go down Shore Drive and Marlon Bay. I think it doesn't front up along Marlon Bay continuously. I think there is an offset, particularly where it goes from 4 stories to 3 stories. I think the concealed parking is a significant feature of this development. We're not going to have a sea of asphalt surrounding the apartment units. And I think it's that's very much to be applauded. And then the landscaping and continuation of the multi-use trail along Shore Drive, which we all would like to see is continuous in the future. The cons, the height and massing of the building wing extending towards and running parallel with the 2-story townhomes along Ocean Tides Drive. The height and scale and massing are a result of the density of approximately 31.27 units per acre for the zoning lot. And the BAC had previously recommended reducing the height of the building wing from 4 to 3 stories. I think the success of the stepping down of the wing that extends towards the intersection just drives home what stepping the wing down that projects towards the townhomes and run parallel with the townhomes. I think it's evidence of how much it would improve the adjacency of the apartment project to the 2-story townhome project or development. There is a concern, and this was we had some concern, but there was more detail provided in just the past couple of days that gives a better understanding of what's happening on the first floor. But there is a concern about delivery trucks and trash trucks using the driveway between the wing and the townhomes along Ocean Tides Drive. So a suggestion would be that the trash trucks enter from and exit to Shore Drive by providing a turnaround somewhere in that proximity of the area between the building, the apartment building, and the marina building. So the suggested motion for the BAC is, while we applaud the reduction in height of the wing extending towards the intersection of Shore Drive and Marlon Bay Drive from 4 to 3 stories, resulting in a reduction of scale and massing along Shore Drive and Marlon Bay Drive. Doing so demonstrates the appropriateness to do the same on the wing extending towards and running parallel to the 2-story townhomes on Ocean Tides Drive. For that reason, and I suggest possibly that reason alone, I'm suggesting the design review committee is suggesting that we not approve the application. And then in closing, there were some Virginia Beach staff comments that had been provided to the applicant. And instead of repeating those, I think everybody has a copy of them. We would like to receive and review those if this project continues, which I'm assuming it will, on behalf of the BAC. And we can share those discussions with the BAC. But as these issues get resolved with staff, we would like to be part of that discussion. But again, I have to applaud the reducing that wing was a significant step.
I'd like to say something, Phil, if I can.
John, can you provide your reaction to that?
I'm sorry, are you talking to me?
Yes.
Okay. We did receive that comment from Bob when he and I talked recently. We have done what we could to try to reduce the unit count as much as possible and still make the project feasible. The amenities that we're offering here are first class. The parking garage, in order to shield the parking and not have that sea of asphalt that Bob referred to, and to make sure that it's adequate enough parking. It is an extremely expensive way to go, but we feel like it's the right design. In order to eliminate more units, we're getting too thin where the project is just not feasible. We can only divide those costs by so many units. If the fewer units we have, the harder it is to make the numbers work on the project. So while we appreciate the commentary and appreciate the understanding, it renders the project infeasible for us.
All right, before I ask for other comments from the commission and the public, I just want to remind everybody what the role of the BAC is, and that is to review projects for consistent, compliant they are with the Shore Drive design guidelines. Our role is not to review density. That's entirely the Planning Commission and City Council, and we are not even able to comment about density. So as you frame your comments, please try to frame them around the design elements. And I will say that, other than that wall, and I understand all the concerns you have, John. I think the design is very good. I think that a lot that needs to be cleaned up, and this certainly does that. There's still that one concern. So that's my comments, and now I'll ask the rest of the commissioners to comment. Wally?
Okay, this is probably only the second time I've ever heard so many dozens of people make comments about a construction site or about an apartment site where nobody, not one person, has anything good to say about it. Not at all. I mean, I'd like to say something about the traffic. I don't know if that's even possible. I mean, 400 some odd cars added to that place. I'm sorry. I cannot go along with this. I wish I could. As it is designed, or as it is right now, I just cannot. Sorry.
Wally, are you saying that in terms of the project and the density, or as in terms of the design?
I would say that in terms of the neighbors. In terms of the design of Shore Drive, Shore Drive's not designed to put so many vehicles out there at one time. And there are so many comments. If Mr. Peterson could see some of these comments that people put out there, it would be, I would appreciate it if he would take a look at them somehow. I'm sorry.
Right. Other comments, please.
Bill, Charlie.
Charlie.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've received as well numerous emails opposing the project, and they cite the project's too big, traffic problems, overpopulate the beaches, possible damage to Pleasure House Point, loss of privacy, and create shadows in the afternoon. None of the above are in our preview, as you earlier stated, Mr. Chairman. The applicant has met with the Civic League and BAC Design Committee and have made numerous concessions. In my opinion, the project will improve the corner, and a precedent has been established with the projects on both sides of Leicester Bridge with the pedestal parking and 4 living floors above it. With that said, I'm in favor of the project as presented.
Thank you. Other comments?
I'd like to go, Morgan.
Okay.
So I think what I'm asking this commission to discuss is how this is in line with the ULI study from 1998, the Shore Drive Corridor Plan in 2000, and then the design guidelines in 2002. So I see 2 issues, and I've got my paperwork, and I'm reading that the objectives from the Shore Drive Corridor Plan, 2 of the objectives on here, which I thought was when this BAC commission was created. One of them is to improve traffic safety in the corridor. I'd like to understand how this would improve traffic safety. And then one of the other ones is to protect and enhance the quality of residential communities in the corridor. So I have a problem understanding how this Marlon Bay Apartments would protect and enhance the quality of the residential community in the corridor. So if we go and look, I know you referenced the design guidelines. If we look at the mixed zone, which this is in, the comprehensive plan that we're supposed to be following says the plan recommends the Ocean Park neighborhood for residential land use at low and medium densities up to the park. Area along Shore Drive is recommended for retail, service, and office uses compatible with the needs of the surrounding neighborhood. That is the intent. That is the intent of this concept of mixed use. We have this B4 mixed use, but the Marlon Bay Apartments aren't offering a mixed use to complement the surrounding neighborhood. There is no mixed use for that. It's just an building. So I think we just have to be, I have to understand is what's the purpose of these guidelines about enhancing the corridor, and everything in the literature and the documents the city has provided is against it. And I was under the impression that that the BAC was supposed to do their best to see if things, development along this corridor adhered to those guidelines. I'd love feedback from, especially people that have been here for a long time.
Comments?
I mean,
I'd like to comment, Mr. Chairman. This is Martin Thomas.
Martin.
I agree with Morgan and everything she said, quite frankly. I think this is contrary to the intent of the plan for Shore Drive. It sets a precedent. Not only does it set a precedent, though, but it just destroys the character of the neighborhood, in my opinion. I applaud them for trying to reduce the density and the mass, but it doesn't do the job. I think it's still contrary to our guidelines. It's contrary to the ULI report and recommendations, and it probably doubles the size of Ocean Park, quite frankly, in population. Although we're not supposed to talk about density, I think we can talk about density when we talk about preserving the character of the neighborhood.
It increases it by 42%.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty remarkable, if you ask me. I think that I don't like those trailers on that lot either, but I think it's a sham to try and claim this is mixed use and therefore allows you more density. This isn't mixed use. This is attaching an existing boat sales building for name only, just to skirt the regulations. And I think that that's contrary to the intent of the guidelines that we're governed by. I would move for the reasons stated by Morgan Ayers that the project be we vote against it.
I second.
We already have one motion on.
Before the motion, I think we should
floor.
probably listen to the residents. Phil?
Uh,
I think we should hold off on the motion until we hear the attendees'
Yes,
comments.
yes. Are there any other comments from the commission?
I have another comment. I'm sorry. I just want us to, if we look at the Shore Drive corridor, like the very beginning of it, and it says a residential community. The Shore Drive area is first and foremost a residential community comprised primarily of residential neighborhoods, which are oriented to the area's beaches and waterways. If you go down, it says, overall, the area should be focused primarily towards local neighborhoods and local residents rather than visitor needs. New development and redevelopment in the area should be oriented towards protection and enhancement of the character of the existing residential neighborhood. How is this in line with the existing character of the neighborhood of Ocean Park? That's my question.
Okay. Comments?
I agree with Morgan and Martin, and I don't think, it's an appropriate mixed use. I do commend John, they went back and worked. I think it's a very nice project, but just not for that location.
Other comments?
Okay, Tanaza, let's call on the attendees that want to speak. Fine.
Would you like me to just go down the list?
I think so. I'm trying to get to the list, but if you have it in front of you, there's the all attendees. So yeah, the first, go from the top to the bottom. Okay, I see it in the middle here. Alana Deal. Did you want to speak?
I've unmuted her, so if she's
Alana Deal, are you wanting to speak?
Sorry, I was just attempting to just support what Morgan was saying. I agree wholeheartedly, and it just not being in line with the neighborhood. And we set these standards for a reason, and it's a beautiful project, but just has no it has no purpose in this neighborhood to enhance it, and it would look beautiful somewhere else.
Thank you. Andrea Lindemann.
Hello,
Yes, we can hear you.
this is Andrea. You can hear me, okay? I'll chime in with exactly what everybody else is saying. The fact that this is too large. When every time I drive down Shore Drive and I realize how massive this would be as I keep driving and this building would keep going. And I walk my dog along Marlon Bay Drive and I realize again how massive this would be for the folks that live on the other side towards Pleasure House Point. So I thought, well, how can we quantify this? And I asked the planning department how many households there are in Ocean Park, and I got the answer that there are 1,000 address points in Ocean Park. So imagine adding 200, almost, okay, 197 at 1,000. That's an enormous increase, as several people have said. And as several people have said, in terms of design, Ocean Park has duplexes, we have townhouses, we have single family homes, and right in the middle of those, this large complex of still mostly 4 stories and a 4.5-story parking garage in the middle of those townhouses and homes and duplexes. So I just wanted to lend my voice also. And just to quote another part of the Shore Drive plan, corridor plan, where it talks about the design elements that should characterize Shore Drive development, that the scale of design is to complement and not overpower the existing physical setting. And if this isn't overpowering, I don't know what is. And again, I agree with people, it's a beautiful plan, but it's not a beautiful plan for Ocean Park. So I also oppose this project. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Bree Virtue. I'm sorry if I got that pronounced wrong.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I was just, again, agreeing with a lot that most people have said. Being new to the area, fairly new within the past 2 years, we were drawn to this particular location and neighborhood because of the culture, because of the atmosphere and the residential atmosphere and the way it felt. And I think adding that very large apartment complex would really change a lot of the character that you feel whenever you're driving into Ocean Park. I think most of the residents and most of the people who have even visited will tell you Ocean Park is a very special place. And being a person, a parent, people with kids, neighborhood, things like that, I just really feel like a large apartment complex would really take away from that feeling, from that culture that you get being in Ocean Park. And I think there's a certain boundary line and a certain amount of character that we have in Ocean Park. And while there's different things about density being said and everything else, which I completely agree with and 100% makes sense, I think just from the resident standpoint, I think most of the residents here belong in Ocean Park for a reason, and they belong in there because the love of the community, the love of the location, and the love of the atmosphere that we have there. And I think that this would just really take away from it. And that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I see two with their hands raised, and Frank, I'm sorry that you're on the wrong side here. I'll ask Janiza to put you in the panel since you're a commission member.
Yes, I've moved Frank into the panelist.
Okay, great. And I see Laura Harrington has her hand up, and then we'll go to the call-in users.
Hi, this is Lauren Harrington. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I have been a resident in Ocean Park for a little over 11 years and have been very active in the Civic League over several of those years. I think, while some have applauded the scale back of the shoreline view of this project to only 3 stories, I think just is self-admitting of the enormity of the project that does not fit with the scale of this neighborhood. And I know that the Bayfront Advisory Committee, we were only talking about this one project, but we should also think about the industrial dredge transfer station that is also still pending, but that is a huge, huge traffic concern when you are going to add potentially 400 new vehicles to a short drive, and our streets and the infrastructure in our neighborhood cannot handle that. Again, I will agree that it is a beautifully laid out project. Wrong place. Our beaches, our community, our neighbors, Pleasure House Point and its natural beauty and how hard this neighborhood has worked to protect that. And you're going to put 200 apartments next to it. I just vehemently oppose. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. William West. His name just disappeared.
He's gone.
Okay, Todd Solomon is next on the list.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Great. I apologize. I may have missed this, and this may be a recap of something you did. I missed the whole presentation, but I was just curious, have you guys discussed, is this something that actually the BAC can vote upon? I know with density in Westminster Canterbury and things like that, you couldn't officially vote on that. It was only aesthetics and things like that. And even the apartment complex and the density on the expansion there for Marina Shores, you couldn't vote on that. So I'm just curious, is that something that technically you are allowed to vote on? That was it.
Thank you.
I'll defer to Kay, but I think that when you're dealing with massing and such, you indirectly relate to density, and also the quotations from the plans. I mean, they are subject to this board's consideration. I know a lot of it's kind of in general. I don't know, Kay, if you have any other thoughts on that, but.
And also real quick on proffers too. I know we've just violated the proffers on the Marina Shores. So if that's something that's going to be on this, that's going to say it's proffered that the commercial piece will never be subdivided and things like that. That's only as good as the next month or the next council meeting, right? Is that correct?
Yes, proffers may be changed at any time. Council would have to accept the proffers and would have to move to change them, and they would have to go through the process. So nothing's forever, including your zoning. Nothing's forever.
That's for sure.
So that's what that is. And I agree completely with Phil that you need to be concentrating upon here the guidelines and how this project works into the guidelines. Planning Commission will, of course, look at density, and they will look at all the other things that seem to have become an issue.
I think that what we're talking about in density is related to adherence to the guideline. I think we are certainly entitled to a vote on all the things that Morgan Ayers mentioned.
Okay.
This is Bob McGinn. I did reference the height, scale, and massing are the result of a density of approximately 31.27 units per acre for the zoning lot. And I think that's, I think we've touched on it a couple of times in this conversation. If height, scale, and massing are impacted by density, we don't have to talk about the numbers, but we just have to talk about the height, scale, and
I think
massing.
one way to look at it too is whatever's in the Shore Drive corridor documents versus we're not making determinations of zoning as presented in the zoning ordinance or with traffic. Certainly it's indirectly character of neighborhood kind of discussion, but traffic volume and such, has never been subject to this commission's recommendation because of the staff experts on that. So that's one way to look at it, as far as if you can pull things out of the documents that have been referenced as being subject to this committee's purview: the Shore Drive corridor plan, the overlay guidelines, and the comprehensive plan suburban focus area for Shore Drive. Next, we have Tim Solonic. Susan Lawson.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for inviting me to speak. I recently joined Ocean Park Civic League, and I've lived in Ocean Park for 3 years, but on the Shore Drive corridor for about 26. And looking at the density and scale of even the revised plan is overwhelming to this small area. Here in Ocean Park, we have a historic neighborhood, and part of the Virginia Beach Plan for historic and neighborhood preservation doesn't include building large density buildings, condos or apartments in neighborhoods like these. I think that they are typically well planned in the comprehensive plan and in other city documents to outline strategic areas for growth in other areas of the city that can better accommodate it. Clearly, from everything that everybody said so far, we can see that Ocean Park is just not the right space, size, location. It's just a very quaint historic neighborhood that really can't well receive that sort of scale for a building. So that would be my only comment at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Scott Ayers.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for taking my input. But I think one thing that has somehow not been overlooked is the number of people, and I'm talking density, that will live in this building. They will have, based on where they live, friends visit. Now, where are those friends going to park? No, I know where they're going to park. They're going to park on Marlon Bay Drive. All the money, the time, and the effort for the city of Virginia Beach residents to enjoy Pleasure House Point, guess what? They won't be able to park there. The school buses that go to the Brock Center to unload their kids for education in the educational part of the Brock Center probably won't be able to find a place to park. So that's an aside to just the bigger picture of a small neighborhood increasing by close to 50% with one single project. It's not conceivable, and it certainly doesn't follow the history set by the Shore Drive design, the Shore Drive guidelines, as well as the initial recommendation that the commission was created. So I think we have to step back and say, as many people have said, yes, all right, it's a very attractive project, wrong place, wrong area, Ocean Park, it was singled out in the corridor plan to basically stay the way it was, a residential neighborhood. Yes, apartments are residential, but look at the mix of the residential zoning that is there in Ocean Park. It is predominantly R8. Allows single family and duplexes. And the largest zoning that has been approved, other than the condos, which were on commercial property, was the exact property that has a PDH 1 on some of the question property, which I believe is 9 or 12 to the acre. What's wrong with staying within the existing plan? It certainly is not a mixed use development. The intention of that mixed use part of the design guidelines and the overlay district was to create an encapsulated multifamily and business and service industry for the people of the neighborhood. This is by taking and calling the boat sales place part of the multifamily project. I'm sorry, it doesn't cut it. It doesn't work. So you could go in there and build 50, 60 really nice townhouses. Keep it the way it's supposed to be, but don't have such a massive building in a neighborhood that can't stand it. Somebody mentioned the infrastructure. We got problems all the time with additional stormwater runoff. The infrastructure in Ocean Park, the sewer lines are all collapsing. Hey, I think the city ought to take care of that first for the people that live there. Anyway, I sure hope the commission denies this project. It certainly should. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Maria Liakoros. I hope I got that right.
I was just listening in. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Lauren Harrington, I think I already called on her, but double check.
Oh, no, I'm good. I put my hand down.
Okay,
Thank you,
great, thank you. I see Jonathan Spate on here, but he was with Beach Builders, so I'm afraid he was not a panelist. Are you still there, Jonathan? Okay. Jeff Holst.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jeff. MC Munden.
With all the others, that it's probably not a project that we should be engaging in.
Okay, thank you. Danny Murphy.
Hello. I am the president of the Ocean Park Civic League, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you. Talk with you a little bit about it. I appreciate the meeting that we had with the developers, Mr. Peterson, and what they've done up to now to try to revise the project. However, at this point, I can tell you that we are not in favor of the project as it was presented today. We find it inconsistent, and I'll try to curtail my comments to just the guidelines of the Bayfront Advisory Commission, but on a number of issues. And in terms of the property sits on the western edge of the green zone, immediately adjacent to the Pleasure House Point. And I think that is one of the crown jewels of this area, if not of Virginia Beach. One of the requirements we have is to preserve and protect the area development around it. And we find this inconsistent with doing so. If you look at the frontage on Shore Drive, the scale and mass of the elongated building, although the first partial part is 3 stories, the rest of it and the majority of it, including the parking garage, are at least 4 stories tall and 4.5 for the parking garage. The other thing that is of great concern to us, of my residents, is the 4-story units overlooking the 2-story townhomes on the Mystic Bay Area townhomes there. It's only separated by a very narrow roadway. I would like to reiterate what Mr. Solomon said about the proffers. We obviously know that a proffer these days does not hold the same weight that maybe at one time it did. So we are concerned about that as well. And I think the other thing, I've heard a lot of comments about the character of the area and the neighborhood and the community and what draws people to that. I will tell you, from every resident I have talked to and engaged with, they would be much more in favor of keeping the boatyard, the dilapidated building. That is the character that brings people to our community, and that's what they like. They do not want to look like we live in Sterling, Virginia, or someplace with massive apartment complexes right next to our precious Pleasure House Point. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Danny. Janiza, we now have call-in users that I think everyone else that has registered their name has been called on. I don't know if they can see themselves as which user they are, but maybe if the call-in users can take turns speaking. There's a call-in user 7. A call-in user 5 and a call-in user 2.
Okay, so call-in user 2, I think you were about to say something.
And if you can say your name, please, that'd be great. Must be some issues. Are the other 2 unmuted too, Janiza?
Yes, they're all unmuted.
Okay, so do any of the call-in users have comments to make? Okay, Phil, I think we've gone through all the participants. Did you see any that I missed, Janiza?
Nope, I think you got all of them.
Okay, great.
Okay, let me go back to Bob Magoon. Bob, you had proposed a suggested motion.
Yes. Do you want me to read that again?
Please do.
Okay. While we applaud the reduction in height of the wing extending towards the intersection of Shore Drive and Marlon Bay Drive from 4 to 3 stories, resulting in a reduction of scale and massing along Shore Drive and Marlon Bay Drive, doing so demonstrates the appropriateness to do the same on the wing extending towards and running parallel to the 2-story townhomes on Ocean Tides Drive. For that reason, and possibly that reason alone, the Design Review Committee recommends not approving the application.
Okay. So is that a motion?
Can I make one comment? Frank Rabina has his hand raised on the participant side, but we moved him into the panel, so I'm not sure. Are you able to speak, Frank?
Yes, that was for that reason, and that was for that reason. Thank you very much for adjusting that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so Bob, is that a motion?
That's the Design Review Committee motion.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Can that motion be amended? I mean, is that the only is
It can be amended.
I
Do you
mean,
have an amended motion?
I mean, I agree with him, but I also think that's in not in line or incongruent with the existing Shore Drive corridor guidelines from the comprehensive plan.
All right, so can you say that in a motion?
You can ask Mr. Magoon to accept your amendment to his motion.
Mr. Magoon, you accept my amendment to your motion?
I accept your amendments.
We still need a second.
Okay. Do
I'll
we have
second
a
it.
second to Bob's motion with the amendment?
I heard someone say second, but I didn't see him.
Raise your hand.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any additional discussion?
Yes. Does anyone need to abstain because they have an interest in this project?
I have to abstain, Chuck Guthrie.
Mr. Guthrie, what is your interest in this project?
I own Lynn Haven Marine.
Okay, so you have a financial as well as a personal interest in this project, and therefore you will abstain. I will send out a letter to you tomorrow detailing all of that. If you just sign it and send it back to me.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any additional discussion? Okay. Let's call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Opposed, nay. That's through the motion.
Frank's
I'm
opposed.
sorry, who opposed?
Frank.
Okay,
To
Frank,
the
you
motion.
opposed the motion.
I oppose the motion.
Okay. All right, so.
And Mr. Guthrie abstained.
So wait a minute, you have Marvin on there, Marvin said no too.
Okay,
So it's approved seven
so
to
we have 2 noes,
2 noes, correct.
1 abstain. And I don't know how many more we have on the line right now, but
7
it's approved.
and approved.
This is approved.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other old business? Any new business?
One new business, and I'm sure after this meeting, everyone's going to be loving it, but we have been given authorization to begin in-person meetings again. The question I'll have is the governor's order, I think, allows 50 people to congregate now. I need to check to make sure that we are not using just the convention center. I have been to a meeting in another facility as a public meeting, so if we're allowed to go back to the fire station, what would y'all prefer between the convention center and the fire station?
Fire station.
I would prefer the fire station.
Okay, so yeah, we can get back to the
Can we get
normal.
50 people there?
It's going to be harder to social distance there.
Well, we have to social distance, so people will just not be able to get in, if you understand that.
Exactly. I mean, so maybe to be safe, it might be better to go to convention center. But the other thing is that the last 2 meetings have been untypically heavy with attendance. Some of our other meetings have not been as heavy. But I do run the risk of having to tell people they can't come in if we go to the fire station. So anyway.
I think it's my preference because I like to have the meetings right here in the Shore Drive corridor where people can walk, they can ride their bikes, they can easily get here.
Okay.
We will look into both options and let you know midway into the month what we can do.
Okay.
Wally?
Any other new business?
Wally had a question.
Wally?
Next meeting for 5 weeks. we may have new guidelines from the governor about 5 more weeks, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Most people that are eligible for vaccinations will have gotten them all too. But,
All right, community reports.
and I think I'm going to go down the list of everyone that's remaining here because I'm sure that most of them did not register, but they may want to speak. If that's okay with you, Phil?
Yeah.
Say they want to or not. I'm trying to see if I'm at the beginning of the list here. Okay, Todd Solomon is at the top of the list. Do you want to speak, Todd?
Yeah, just I don't have that much, but as far as the only thing kind of going on right now, short-term rentals. If you hadn't heard, it appears the council's going to vote on that in June. I believe it's June 15th, maybe.
Yes,
So,
I did put that in my staff updates.
yeah, right. So, and if you're so inclined, I believe Cape Story has asked Vice Mayor Wood to attend. I think we're going to hold our first in-person meeting in a while at Cape Story on May 10th. So Vice Mayor Wood has agreed to come to that to talk about the short-term rentals and his viewpoint and his motion to have it removed and give us kind of an update on that. So we'll pass that along to you. If you're welcome to come to that. Again, we're at the 50-person restriction too, but we're at the Lynn Haven Colony Church, so it's a little bit larger there, roughly the size of the Ocean Park Rescue Squad, maybe a little bit bigger there. And I don't know, have you guys, we haven't, as Cape Story, we haven't reached out to the new Marriott yet, Delta, to see if they're allowing use of their rooms where we used to, meet there before. It switched hands. So I don't know now that they're open and operating, if they'd be welcome to letting people come in there and use their space at all. And then I just got an email today. I don't know if you're aware of it, but somebody just emailed me something about the Marriott in Delta that they got a alcohol license to sell liquor on the beach all the way out to the high tide line. So I didn't know if you're aware of that. I guess they're going to put boundaries and alcohol fencing up or something to say can't go beyond this point, but they'll have cabana boys and girls or whatever, I guess, bringing drinks back and forth to people out there on the beach and selling it there. So I hadn't heard that. I mean, I know we do it in Cape Story all the time. We don't sell it, but we just bring beer out to the high tide line and hide it in our stuff. But I'm just interested if that's something anybody's ever. I don't know if the Marriott, if the old hotel was able to do that or not, or if that's just something that is legal. But I guess it was approved maybe by the ABC license. But that's the only other thing that kind of popped up. Thanks.
Thank you, Todd. Tim Solonic.
Tim said he doesn't have a mic accessible, so I don't know if his hand is just automatically raised, but he won't be able to answer you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Tim. We'll be able to get back with you when we go in person. I don't know if he can text or email you.
Yeah, he can hear you. Right.
But can he text you or email you to give his comments to you, if he has any?
I think it's just still up from the previous thing, so he can email you.
Okay. Susan Lawson, do you have a question, Wally?
I do not.
Okay. Scott Ayers, do you have anything that community reports?
No.
Okay. Marina. Okay. Lauren Harrington.
I'm good, thank you.
All right, thank you. Jeff.
No comment. Thank you. No comment.
All right, thank you. MC. Okay. Danny, do you have anything?
I'm all set. Thank you.
And then any of the call-in users? You are all unmuted if you're just on the phone. Okay, Bree,
I'm good, thank you.
all right, thank you. Andrea,
I'm fine. Thank you.
all right, I think Janiza, that's the list, isn't it, of who's left?
Yep, that's all.
Okay, great.
Okay, anything else for the good of the order? I think we're done, so I'm going to
Wally's
adjourn
got
the
his
meeting.
hand up. Do you have something, Wally?
Can you hear
Wally?
me?
I can now.
So I was going to say the rec center is always available for us to use. So if we have a lot of people that want to come to the next meeting, instead of everybody driving all the way to the ocean front to the convention center, we can always use the Bayside Rec Center, and they got nice sized rooms there. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
We would have to get a different room though, because the one we used to meet in was worse than the fire station.
Yeah, but they got some bigger ones, believe me.
Yeah, we'll have to find them then, yeah. Okay, gotcha. So that would be preference then to find a bigger room in the Shore Drive corridor than the fire station, as opposed to going to the conference center.
That's my point. Thank you.
Okay, gotcha. We will look into different meeting room locations.
Okay.
All right, well,
Anything
thank you,
else?
everybody. I just want to thank everyone for their patience with this new format. I think it did help with the keeping the commission together to discuss the items with the developer and then being able to go through the list. But I know it was confusing how to register and everything, so I apologize for that. And I'm looking forward to in-person meetings.
And Mark, I appreciate everything you did to put this together, and I hope we never have to do it again.
I couldn't have done it without Janiza. It would have been like the old meeting with all the faces there. So anyway.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Okay, being no further business, we are adjourned.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So long.